Congratulations to Edgerrin James, Colts running back, legend, one of the first guests on our show whenever we retired, makes it into the Hall of Fame finally. There's a lot of conversation about who deserves to go in, who doesn't deserve to go in. Edgerrin James on the field, absolute terror for his opponents. Edgerrin James off the field, one of the most hilarious humans of all time. They had a preseason game scheduled to be in Japan or something along those lines, in the taxing and everything like that. It would have been like a week-long trip with all this stuff. And Bill Polian came out, I guess, and said that nobody's allowed to be injured, right? Because Edgerrin James and the boys, I guess, came out and said that they had pulled their hamstrings or something. They couldn't go on the trip to Japan. They're very sorry or whatever. And this became like quite a little situation here in Indianapolis between the reporters, the team, talking about going to Japan and all this stuff. And Edgerrin James said something about like, the closest I'm going to get to Japan is P.F. Chang in an actual interview. Then fast forward, Edge ended up going. They just sat. They didn't play at all. It was a massive thing. I'm sure he was happy to go. But at the time, Edgerrin James, if he was around during the social media era, he would be one of the favorite football players on earth. Just a hilarious individual, good guy. And now he's a businessman, and he has an adult gentleman's ballet down in Miami. Never, ever changed. Edgerrin James never, ever changed, refused to change to try to get in the Hall of Fame. He gets his Hall of Fame bid. I'm very happy for him. Very happy for Cower. Very happy for Jimmy Johnson. Very happy for
Go ahead, say it.
Steve Atwater.
Steve Atwater.
Isaac Bruce.
Isaac Bruce. Greatest show on turf. Very happy for him. Steve Hutchinson. All these guys. Very, 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 very happy for them.
What about friend of the show?
Who's that?
Troy Polamalu.
Troy Polamalu is the definition of a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay? Troy Polamalu is a guy who, when he was on a field, you had to watch. He was Lamar Jackson, but on the defensive side of the ball. Whenever the Pittsburgh Steelers were playing, now I grew up in Pittsburgh, so I was obviously forced to watch him play with my father being a diehard fan and Pittsburgh being a diehard fan and them having a lot of success. But I think even if you weren't in Pittsburgh, watching the Pittsburgh Steelers play when Troy Polamalu was on the field was must-see television because he didn't play by the rules. He played by no rules. He had a feel for the game that nobody else knew about. He had this instinct and a sense of what was going to happen before it was going to happen. There's legendary videos of him predicting what the snap count's going to be. There's legendary videos of him timing things up perfectly. And then there's obviously one night in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where he ruined one child from Pittsburgh's dreams. There was one night in Pittsburgh where Troy Polamalu decided that a kid who grew up in the East Hills of Pittsburgh will never, ever get a chance to fulfill his lifelong football dreams, which is score a touchdown in the NFL. And for that reason, that's why we haven't talked about Troy Polamalu going into the Hall of Fame, because those were my dreams that he ruined. That was my life he decided to poop on. That was my evening in front of my friends and family on national television where I was supposed to score a touchdown, but instead Troy Polamalu decided to do something he had never, ever done before and just line up right in the gap where I was supposed to walk into the end zone, making a shift to the short side of the field, which has never happened. And for that, I will forever remember Troy Polamalu as being a very mean person. Congrats to him, though.
I was thinking about how when you were talking about Troy and how Pro Football Focus grades, like, good luck trying to grade him. Like, you had no idea what he was supposed to be doing.
And I said this on Rich Eisen's show because, I was named punter of the decade by Pro Football Focus, the first ever punter of the decade. There will be other punters of the decade. They will all be trying to chase my title. I very much understand. And Pro Football Focus, a lot of people dock them because they are a group of humans who watch every single play a person has and scores them, and they're most diligent whenever it comes to rating. The AP gives out the All-Pro, but those are mostly just media writers who pick fan favorites for things. Now, granted, those are good players, and good players become fan favorites, but in positions like punters and kickers, a lot of the writers have no idea what they're looking at. So for Pro Football Focus, whenever I would get a good grade from them, I appreciated it, and I very much, because they look at every single thing. Now, what people say is for Pro Football Focus, that whenever they judge a defensive play and they score everybody either +1 or -1 for every single play, they have no idea what everybody's roles are for certain plays. Like, you don't know if a safety is supposed to help out a corner, if a safety was supposed to stay in the middle. So you can't really tell if a defensive end was supposed to go or hold. Like, it's hard to score people when you don't know exactly what they're supposed to do. For kickers and punters, though, it's very easy to tell what we're supposed to do, okay? It's very easy to score. You either did your job right, they didn't get a return, or you didn't do your job right. And being the Pro Football Focus punter of the decade is a big deal for me because it is something that they've looked into and they scored properly. But you're 100% right. How would they be able to judge Troy Polamalu in what he was supposed to do? How about the other safety that was on the field with him?
Yeah.
How about the other safety that was on the field with him? Is he supposed to make up for Troy? He didn't know Troy was going to go do that. Like, it'd be very difficult to do that. And he was a guy that broke the mold at football. He was a guy who was a superstar. And for me, he's a guy that I'll forever remember for taking a moment away from me and my parents, me and my family in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.